There was a time in 2021 when I was searching for a place where I could learn programming.
I think 42 is the place to learn code because it's not traditional.
I scrolled a few times because it was too good to be true. A software engineering school, totally free.
Of course, you're first curious, like, you don't have professors, you don't have lectures, how exactly does that work?
It's hard to put in words. I think you'll have to do it.
I really believe the school is what you make it.
"42" comes from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and in this surrealistic science fiction book, there is the desire to find out what is the answer to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And they charge a computer to calculate the right answer. It takes millions of years, and in the end, it professes that 42 is the answer to everything.
I want to learn coding because I think technology shapes the past, the present, and the future, and I want to be there shaping the future.
I wanted to get into coding as fast as possible and probably also get a job pretty soon.
Coding for me is a tool, as a paint and a brush, to create something. So I was very curious to try this tool.
I was scrolling through Instagram and then I saw this ad from 42.
At first I thought it was too good to be true. The learning model and the fact that it was free and so open. I mean, there's no teachers, there's no classes, there's no lectures. And I guess this really attracted me to it, that there was so much freedom.
I loved it from the beginning right away. I said, okay, screw it, I'm not going to go to university, I'm just going to apply, and it worked out fine.
My name is Ralf Linde and I'm the Chief Learning Officer of the Volkswagen Group. I'm responsible for everything what is related to qualification, competence development, personal development or training in the group. In 2018, I've heard for the first time about the 42 from a software specialist in our company. And he said there's a new school in Paris and you have to visit the school, it's great. And there we can get the best software developers ever. And so I made a short travel to Paris and I was convinced about the concept, convinced about the quality of the software developers which come out of the school. And so that was the beginning of my relationship to 42.
Well, 42 is certainly a very meaningful venture when it comes to bringing next generation education, and in particular next generation tech education, to the people. It's a model that works around the world and that scales really, really well. Why? Because we don't have professors, we don't have lectures. What we have are people who want to learn.
First of all, you do an online test, which is like a logical reasoning test, and if you pass that, you get accepted into the piscine.
It's French for swimming pool, and there is a saying almost in all languages, I think, to jump into the cold water. And in the piscine, our learners jump into the cold water together.
I didn't have any experience before that. I didn't even try very hard because I was told that you can just come to the piscine and without any experience, without anything, you're going to be able to explore the coding and software development.
They said people from all backgrounds with no coding experience, and that's what motivated me to apply for this. And when I started, it was quite daunting because I didn't even know what a terminal was.
I was like, okay, it's gonna be 4 weeks, you have to prep your meal and you're gonna be coding the whole day 4 weeks straight. So I prepared, I got a lot of like energy bars and whatever. In the end, it didn't turn out so bad. So you will basically be thrown into the cold water. They will just give you some PDF where it says, okay, this is the task you have to do, and figure out how to do it.
The cool thing was that nobody knew what to do, except a few people. They were like the experts, and we went there and they explained to us, and slowly people started getting it.
In the beginning, it's a fairly easy program, something that, has maybe 10, 15 lines of code, and it prints Hello World on the screen. And the next project is a little bit more difficult, and then a little bit more difficult. The idea behind it is that you really get into this flow of solving exercises that are not too easy, because that would be boring, but also not too hard, because that would be frustrating if you don't succeed. And when you fail, you share with others why you fail, and others share with you why they failed, and then somebody finds a solution and it actually makes click and you move forward.
I managed to pass the piscine. I managed to pass it in a way that I fell in love with the concept of the school. Yeah, I guess because of that it was such a big challenge for me, and that I managed to overcome it and prove to myself that it's possible to learn anything if you are motivated to learn it and if you have the right environment for doing so.
I met people from all walks of life. I think that was the most interesting part of the piscine. And when I say all walks of life, I mean also like gender diversity, age diversity, and also experience. I met a violinist, I met a professional footballer and a basketballer, philosophy major, or myself, I come from business. So the cool thing about coding is that there is not one solution to a problem. And this was interesting because everyone had different perspectives on how to solve a problem.
The 42 Wolfsburg Berlin is completely free for the students. And the second thing, they don't need any degree to come to our school. The only thing that they need is talent. So we are financed by donations, and the Volkswagen Group is the largest donor, but we have also other supporters in our school like SAP or Microsoft. So we are working with these partners together in scholarships and internships and mentoring programs and other projects. I think it's important to say that there are no obligations for the students towards the partners. So they are completely free in their choice where they want to work after their studies at the 42 Wolfsburg.
We need a lot of digital talents and a lot of coders, as well as for the production part of the IT, but also for the software in the cars. So we are looking for a lot of tech talent. But of course, there is also a social responsibility where we say, how can we as a company contribute to better education and to education for everybody?
Learning without a teacher, how does that work? Well, in fact, I would argue that you're always learning for yourself. Learning is something that happens in your brain. The teacher is only facilitating that knowledge sharing, that information sharing. There is an old saying from Confucius, 500 before Christ, that says, "Tell me and I forget, show me and I'll remember, really get me involved and I'll develop the competence to do it myself." And this is the 42 way.
But of course, there's not only Confucius. We love Reform pedagogue Maria Montessori and her leitmotif, "Help me to do it myself." And our contemporary inspiration is MIT professor Mitch Resnick. In his lifelong kindergarten lab, he found that good learning consists of passion, play, peers, and projects.
Hang on, I need to get an adapter. Don't you love it when they change the format of these physical devices and then you wind up with nothing working anymore? The thing that I have learned, or at least come to believe, is that when you learn something by doing it, it's much more powerful than hearing somebody tell you about it. It's a little bit like science. If you don't actually do science, if you just read about it, it doesn't have the same impact. The style that 42 adopts, I think, encourages this kind of learning by doing and learning to apply what you've learned. And I think those are very powerful ways of helping people retain what it is that they're trying to learn.
"42 is really a place for having fun and a playful engagement with the exercises that you have. So rather than giving you a schedule or telling you all the things that you have to learn in the beginning, you're actually starting in the center of what we call the holy graph, which you can imagine as a planetary system with the sun in the middle and then several concentric circles around it. And you can't see what's happening on the outer circles. You have to play the 42 adventure to unlock the next level all the time.
The last 25 years I'm working in the recruiting IT area, and I always thought there's one big issue that people like to play a lot. You know, like playing is the easiest way to learn something. So they play the game and then get to know like all the different levels, and they need to support each other. So you can't do it all alone. And that's, I think, really it's a great thing, because most of the time you think when you work, you have to do it all by yourself.
I think it's like when you're on a job and you don't have a teacher on a job, you just have a boss who gives you a project and says, hey, here's the description, make it work, and you have your colleagues and you work with them to figure it out.
We're not really learning from each other in that sense that nobody is a walking encyclopedia and we can just ask them for anything. We still have to read books, we have to go to the internet, obviously, we have to watch YouTube videos, but we help each other understand these concepts.
I mean, there's so much learning that can be done just by when you talk to another person and you do it subconsciously. You don't realize that you're learning, but you just are in the kitchen at school and you discuss code, and I think it kind of seeps into your brain that way.
To test if they die while eating.
The duration of the core curriculum is from 12 to 16 months, and afterwards we can have an internship that is between 4 and 6 months, and it has to be surveilled with specialists, and afterwards we can return to 42 and continue with one of the specializations. Right now we have mobility, cybersecurity and AI, as far as I know. And after you finish the core, there is no time limit. So you can go through all the specialties one by one and see what do you actually like.
The black hole. The black hole is the method in which the school ensures people get shit done, I would say. The black hole is a continuous counter. You start with a certain amount of days and then every day it decreases by 1 unless you're on a freeze. And then when you submit a project based on the average time of completion for that project, you get black hole days. So you have to keep your black hole above a certain level, otherwise you'll be absorbed and then you're no longer in the school as you haven't done enough work to stay.
I start so early because I love having done things already before other people get up. Normally when I come, I'm the only person there, or there are some persons that are still there from the day before. So when you come at 7 in the morning, they're still there coding and still helping you.
First biggest difference that comes to mind between traditional university and studying at 42 is that we are fully responsible for managing our time.
It's really up to you to decide how your day looks like, how productive you're going to be, how distracted you're going to be.
We have to pass the projects, obviously, but if we think that something is more interesting, we can spend a little bit more time on that. If we have a new idea how to explore a certain subject, we can also bring that to life.
If you give students a difficult text, something that they don't want to read, or something boring, something imposed, but you say to them, this is raw material to make art, or to make a technological development. Just use it. It's raw material. It's not a sacred object. Students will read those texts with intensity because they are the drivers. They are the autonomous users of available material. So if we can develop that sense of autonomy and risk-taking in students, we develop their cognitive skills. And then when they see that other students have developed different solutions to the same challenge, we admire everyone's solution.
So the drone project is a cooperation with a Berlin director. So in the end we want to have a final performance with dancers who are choreographed to the movements of the drone. I chose to be part of it because I saw it wasn't working, and I thought that I could be the guy to make it work and fix it. I still believe that, but it's turned out to be much more of a challenge than I thought it would be. This part.
So we're all coders and we love software, of course, but we also love to see some sort of a result. So here in the Fab Lab we have the opportunity to work on physical things and combine both sides, so the software and the hardware.
So the challenge is replicating an indoor positioning system where we can actually have the drones flying next to the performers and trust that the drone will maintain its position, that the performers will be safe. So this also involves using the 3D printers in the Fab Lab to create custom guards for the propellers. I think it's a really exceptional opportunity to use some hardware and also software that normally you wouldn't be exposed to or get your hands on.
Art in general is very therapeutic to me. Whenever I'm nervous or anxious, I always start painting or drawing something. And I use different medias such as paints and digital art. And I feel like coding fractals was one of those things. Fractals are a visual representation of mathematical patterns. And to me it's fascinating because it's a combination of art and programming. You can put into your code a few mathematical formulas and it will generate images with beautiful colors and patterns.
A, B, C.
I googled what are the main programming languages. So I've heard of the language C and I did not think it was just a letter. So but that's also where my knowledge ended.
C is a very kind of close to the machine language, you would say. So you can really go deep and manipulate memory. You can do embedded things with C, and it teaches you kind of the structure of programming from the ground up.
If you have a tiny error in your code, the whole program will blow up.
That is incorrect. Try again.
When you write proper code, and when loops are running many thousand, millions of times, and you haven't really thought it through, then programs get slow, they get too big, and they're not well coded. So we want our students to really learn from the very basics and very close to the hardware. So we think let's do it the hard way first, and that will make you a much happier camper later.
We test each other's programs and we grade them, so need to develop a certain set of soft skills where we don't judge each other or each other's work a personal way. We have to be very objective.
And you discuss, okay, how did you do this? What was challenging? They try to break your program. And after 3 of these, you can be pretty sure if the program is functioning how it should or not.
Yeah, you learn how to deal with people, how to give really constructive feedback on code, and you just see a lot of different coding styles because we're so many students, and then you can maybe adopt the best practices that you saw in others' code.
There is always some competition. It can be just in a healthy or unhealthy way. We will always compare ourselves to other people, but there is no such thing as the best student or the favorite students of some teachers. Competition is more in a way that we support each other and we hype each other up. Yeah, I don't think that's actually really competition, now that I think about it.
The orange one.
I don't think I can do the orange one. I would like to do the orange one.
Are there more than one good solutions and good approaches to problems? And do we have to ask the next question even when we have a good solution, right? We very often want to come up with the best answer rather than keep more than one afloat. The competitive spirit, that's the trap of professional life, right? Because we miss opportunities. When we teach children to be the best at school, we're teaching them to cancel out their colleagues. It's a terrible thing.
I would say it could help to make the world a little bit better, not to have that much competition. But then the companies have to work on that, because most of the companies also have development paths and career paths that are not focused on groups, right? So it's always the individual who gets, I don't know, promoted and not the team. So this is going to be a very interesting point to discover in the next years.
I think it can be really overwhelming sometimes, this whole experience. Especially for people who prefer to be alone or to work on their own. It's not going to work here very much. Being social here is not an option. we need to interact with each other, work on the projects, we don't have to, but then we are not very successful peer-to-peer learners, are we? It's actually good for more shy people too, because they are kind of forced to talk to other people and interact with them, and they learn to trust that it is a good way to do things in life.
So every message has to look a certain way. See, we have one beacon on the drone like this, and as I was saying to you before, the other beacon will go on here to get the direction. Yeah, and then we have these lovely 3D printed parts in the Fab Lab. So I signed up to this project because I wanted to program the drones, so sending messages and actually controlling it with code and flying it autonomously. I thought, wow, that would be really interesting and cool to do, but so far all I've done is try to get these beacons to work just to be able to fly it indoors in the first place. You make some progress and then you hit the next roadblock and you have next thing to figure out, and it all just takes time and it's slow and tedious and, like 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards.
Wolfsburg is of course exciting because it's one of the big mobility hubs. What I find fascinating is that the mobility sector is in a very similar state than computer networking was in the 80s. Namely, there are so many different digitization standards, so many ways that they're thinking about the smart city and autonomous driving. But in the end, it will have to come together so we have one mobility ecosystem. And this interoperability based on open standards is really a transformation that happens through the software engineers that are educated, for example, in 42 Wolfsburg.
The Volkswagen Group is in the biggest transformation ever. We try to develop our company from a pure car manufacturer to a mobile tech company. And so we have to learn so many things about battery technology, about autonomous driving, about software development. It's a big challenge for us as a company.
We have embraced that location and that specialization by developing a curriculum that is real and trains our students to tackle the problems as they are in the wild.
Yeah, right now I really want to be fast and finish because I set myself a timeline to be finished by the end of the year. Why? Because I started applying for some jobs and I told the guys, yeah, I'm finished on the 1st of January. So I have some kind of pressure, but I like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in AI, mainly because I don't know how it works and I want to figure that out. At this point, it's just dark magic for me.
I like data and statistics. Yeah, something where you're doing some prediction, algorithms, things like this.
everything seems much more open, and my own approach is also, why not try something, or why not try to apply somewhere that I wouldn't even think about applying before I joined 42.
I think the most important observation is that software permeates the world we live in. I would predict that over time we will see an increasing demand for good quality software to be run in the cloud, to be run at the edges of the cloud, to be run in our devices like laptops and pads and mobiles and watches and other kinds of things. So there's plenty of work to be done in the software space. And in some ways, the work will become even more important, because the more we rely on software, the more important it is that it be safe and secure to use.
Engineers today can make practically anything. Give us a challenge and we can rise to the challenge. We don't ask why we make them. And that question about why, what the effects are, is central.
They will write the code that runs the future. And I think it's important to step forward and to stand your ground when it comes to the use of software. And we encourage our students to speak up. We encourage our students to have the practice of confronting questions that have to do with good and bad uses of technology, and we want to ground them with a solid understanding of the scientific method and of ethical values and how to promote the broader good in society.
Growing up, my two role models were my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother was a principal for a village. She would educate the parents and force the kids into schools. Experiencing that and witnessing how my grandmother helped a lot of people come out of poverty was very inspiring, because when we used to walk the streets, random people would come up to her and thank her. They would tell her, "You were the reason why now I have a job." And my mother is a doctor and she helps babies come into the world. And I think it's very important for humans to see people who look like you and who act like you, to see them doing cool things, because only then do you think that you can as well. That is one of my motivations, to inspire the younger generation to pursue a different path to what they are used to.
It's important to have women, it's important to have people from different ethnic environments. If we don't have a diversity of software engineers, we will not be asking the right why questions and answering them, because the challenges are not only technical.
One thing is really important to me, and that is that 42 as a whole, and certainly 42 Wolfsburg and 42 Berlin, are no elite schools. We're accessible to everyone, and we are really trying to be as meritocratic and to provide as much equity as possible.
I think there are some topics in the 42 Wolfsburg which are very interesting for us. The first thing is that they work with less hierarchy. There's no big difference between the members who work in the school and the students. The second thing is that they share their knowledge, because it's not our normal behavior to share everything what we know. And the last point is to be open-minded to everything what is new, to be curious to all the things in the world, and to have a contact to the world between your company. And so I think these are all points where we as a really big company can learn from such a small association.
I think everyone that is interested in programming now has the opportunity to try.